big deal, not just because it hit a record today or is within, what, about $3 of $100 today, but because it is beginning to factor into the bucks we pay for a lot of other things today, like food. It is costing more to transport that food, and like clothes, because it's costing more to make and transport those clothes as well. This is not a recent phenomenon, but an escalating one, and to our credit, we have weathered high energy prices quite well. But now it's getting quite scary. Thank goodness we got those tax cuts, because things would be a hell of a lot worse if both taxes and oil were running up at the same time. Soon, I fear they will be. For now, it is largely oil, and for now, it is largely the single biggest daily tax on Americans of all income levels. By the way, not a good environment to be talking about raising anyone's taxes, but that is another matter for another show. Now to this matter on this show. Oil, front and center. Citigroup, Merrill, Bear Stearns, not. They are the headlines for my money, though. They're simply not the story, especially if my next guests are right. One of them says that we're going to go to at least $250 a barrel on oil, which would roughly translate to $7 gas. Another says $300 a barrel. That is close to $10 gas. Resource Trader Alert's Kevin Kara joins me, and Wealth Daily's president, Brian Hicks. First off, guys, the Dow was up 117 points today, despite oil again. This keeps happening. You're saying, though, that it won't. Brian, $300 oil is what does it?
Well, you know, don't worry about the price of when we get to $300 a barrel oil. Think about the price of oil today. The price of oil today is still incredibly cheap. And let me tell you something. If you break down a barrel of oil to its components, there's 667 cups in one barrel. We are paying the equivalent of 15 cents for a cup of oil. It's still incredibly cheap, and it could go a lot higher from here.
Okay, now, that might be so, but Kevin, if he's right and if you're right, now you're just a tad under his forecast, it's going to cost a lot more for those cups. It's going to cost a lot more for Americans at the gas pump, and that could do a whammy on the economy, could it not?
Well, it could, Neil, definitely. We always hear about demand destruction. We've really seen no evidence of it, though. I remember people talking about that when I worked on the trading floor and we were approaching $40 oil, that would see demand destruction and we would never get past that. It's just not the reality. We've seen prices in Europe be at these levels of $7, $8 a liter, and these economies still function. I think it's really not very prudent to plan on demand destruction as being the cure-all here.
All right, but guys, $100 oil is one thing. $250, $300 oil is quite another. Europe, of course, is used to this. Europe, of course, has not suffered the wrath of these oil prices as much as we have because, of course, it's priced in dollars. But now, if either or both of you are right, what happens? I guess, Brian, the fallout could be severe, or are you saying not so?
It could be. I've been saying all along that, the U.S. economy is extremely resilient. The U.S. consumer is extremely resilient. I heard the same argument back in the summer of 2005 when the price of oil broke above 50. I heard the same thing when the price of oil broke above 70 in the summer of 2006.
You're right on both counts, Brian. I'm wondering, though, is there a magic lever or level that all of a sudden all bets are off? What do you think?
Well, there is, and I'm just a stupid kid from Baltimore. I don't know what that number is.
Well, I don't know that number either, because you're right, guys. I mean, every single sort of crescendo level here has been greeted with a collective shrug on the street. But if you buy the argument that these are going to be some tough times, Kevin, for the oil guys, it's good news, right? I mean, they're going to be the it stocks again, right?
Yeah, honestly, I think this is good news, and I've written about this. This is good news for all of us. Here at $100, we're going to see new innovation. We're hopefully going to get some politicians who come out with some real energy policy. Let's talk about repealing the tariffs on ethanol. Let's encourage sugar
my
imports.
prediction, here's what's going to happen, Kevin. They're going to see these huge profits coming out of ExxonMobil, Chevron, some of these others, and they're going to say, well, now we have to have a windfall profits tax again. So I don't know if we see the kind of things you envision. We might see what we were seeing proposed a year or so ago. Brian, am I unjustifiably negative or what?
No, I think Kevin is absolutely right. I mean, you're seeing the market respond accordingly with rising oil prices. You're seeing a ton of capital being invested in solar, geothermal, nuclear. You're seeing $100 billion being pumped into the Canadian tar sands. The market is responding accordingly.
Okay, and the economy will hold up? Quick prediction, Brian, yes or no?
Yes, I think it will hold up, yes.
Kevin?
I think it will, and I'll guarantee you we'll hit 250 before 300.
Wow. Well, that's a bold stake. Guys, I want to thank you both very, very much. Who knew that
Thank
you
you.
could look at high oil prices and still see the positive? That is upbeat. All right.